Chapter 18, Mr. Taxotere. My dream about the PET scan showing no traces of cancer did come true. However, there was no phone call from my doctor suggesting that we skip the next round of chemo. While I was not looking forward to another 4 rounds of sitting in that chemo recliner, the medication seemed to be working, which meant that I needed to stick with the plan. My first dose of Taxotere was on day 104. Everything went well, which was a blessing. Receiving that chemo was not as scary as the AC chemo because no one needed to put on a hazmat suit or anything like that. The medication was in a simple IV bag, and if I didn't know any better, I would have thought it was saline. The chemo only took an hour to administer, so I felt like we were in and out of there, which was also a nice change of pace. Surprisingly, I felt pretty good for the rest of the day and the next. Say, maybe Mr. Taxotere won't be as bad as I thought he would be. Sadly, I was wrong. 2 days after my treatment, I decided that since I had been feeling good, I would try and catch up on a few things. And by a few things, I mean a lot of things, because remember, overachiever. I began by decorating our Christmas tree. I did have 2 of my friends there helping me, so the task was not as laborious as it could have been, but I probably did more than I should have. After the tree was completed and beautiful, I drove to the mall to attempt some Christmas shopping. Then I baked some cookies, took the girls to the ice rink for some skating time, and ended the day by attending a Christmas party at the church. That is a busy day for someone whose body is functioning at normal capacity. My body was only capable of functioning at minimal capacity, and about halfway through the Christmas party, it began to shut down. I found Mark and told him that we needed to get home as quickly as possible. We rounded up the kids and drove the short distance to our home. As soon as we arrived, I collapsed on my bed, and that is where I stayed all night and through the next day. I had definitely overstepped my bounds, and my body was letting me know it. In combination with the chemo and Neulasta shot side effects, In combination with the chemo and Neulasta shot side effects, I had also come down with a cold or flu virus. My joints screamed every time I tried to move. I could not get out of bed and without every muscle yelling in protest. I called Dr. Chandramoulli's office, and they told me to start taking my backup antibiotics. They had been sitting in my medicine basket since the first round of chemo, just waiting for a moment such as this. I yanked the lid off and swallowed the first pill as fast as I could. Then I went back to bed and settled in for a very miserable weekend. By Monday, I was starting to feel a little more like myself, which was a good thing because my baby was turning 5. My family had already sacrificed so much, and I had to draw the line at letting cancer ruin someone's birthday. That would not be acceptable. My mother-in-law came over that morning to help with a few chores, and then she whisked me and Ellie off to the magical land of Target. We slowly roamed the aisles of toys until Ellie had found the perfect present. We grabbed some lunch, and then Grandma took us home and left me alone with the birthday girl. We spent the afternoon cuddling on the couch and watching movies. Although it wasn't the most exciting of birthday celebrations under the circumstances, it was absolutely perfect. A week went by, and I was still feeling a little under the weather. Because of the virus and the fact that I had lost my nose hairs, my nose had become a leaky faucet. Did you know that chemo causes you to lose nose hairs? I had never realized just how important those little nose hairs were until I didn't have them anymore. I carried a box of lotion-infused tissues with me wherever I went. I hope whoever invented those tissues from heaven gets some extra good karma. They made a world of difference for my sore red nose. In between chemo treatments, I had to go in and have my blood levels checked to make sure that my red and white blood cell counts didn't dip too low. Because I was still feeling sick and my fatigue had worsened, I was a little nervous for this round of blood testing. After my last round of the AC chemo, I barely escaped being sent to the hospital for a blood transfusion. Although I had heard that blood transfusions were not really anything to be nervous about, I was still feeling a little scared. It was also just one more thing for me to have to do, one more bump in the road already filled with so many potholes. When the doctor came into the room to share the results of my blood check, I braced myself for the bad news. Your blood levels are really, really low this week, she said. Normal red cell count should be between 37 to 48. Yours is 25, and you are dehydrated. I'm strongly recommending that you go in for a blood transfusion tomorrow. Wow, 25? No wonder I felt so sluggish. I was only running on about half of the red blood cells that I needed for my body to function. Sigh. Okay, I suppose having a blood transfusion was a must. That night was one of the most memorable nights of my journey. Because Mark was serving as the bishop of our ward, he had appointments 2 to 3 nights of the week. This unforgettable night happened to be one of the nights that he needed to be away from home for a few hours. Normally, I didn't mind him being gone. Our kids were usually pretty helpful, and it was nice to just sit in a quiet house for a bit once they had been sent to bed. With that said, this night was not your typical dad is gone to meetings night. I could tell that Mark was very concerned about the state I was in. He repeatedly asked if he should cancel his appointment so that he could stay home and help me with the nightly routine. Yes, my insides were screaming, I need you to be with me. Unfortunately, I decided to be a martyr, and my insides did not win. No, it's okay. Just go, I said. Josh and Emma can help me. We will be fine. I could tell that he did not want to leave me, but I was insistent that he not cancel his meetings. He reluctantly grabbed his keys, gave me a kiss, and headed out the door. As the garage door was closing, I realized that I had made a huge mistake. It was time to begin the bedtime routine, which was no easy task. It consisted of me asking everyone at least 5 times to pick up their stuff that was placed in piles all over the house. Then there was the gentle persuading, more like impatient nagging, to get PJs on and teeth brushed. Finally, I had all the kids gathered into one room so that we could read stories, scriptures, and say a prayer. I made it through one story and a few verses of scripture before the natives got restless and started pelting me with the usual stalling tactics. I need a drink. I'm hungry. Ellie's blanket is touching my bed. I'm not tired. To which I replied, you just had a drink and a bedtime snack. Just move Ellie's blanket. I don't care if you're not tired. It's bedtime. And of course, there was my usual, Josh, do not put your sister in a headlock. I decided that story time was over and tried to stand up. As I attempted that simple task, my legs buckled and would not support my weight. I crashed to the floor and sat there, a bit stunned by what had just happened. When I first started chemo and was being informed about all the side effects, I had a hard time imagining what it would be like to not have any energy. Surely I would always be able to do simple tasks like walking or doing a load of laundry. Well, now there was nothing left to the imagination. I had reached that point. I could not stand up. My joints ached too badly and my legs were so weak that they could not support my weight. The tears started flowing freely and quickly until I was sobbing. I lay there on the floor, feeling very much defeated. The room was silent, except for the sounds of me gasping for breath as the sobs racked my body. My kids surrounded me and tried to help me stand, but I just couldn't do it. Then they all started crying because it was a scary situation for them and they felt totally helpless. I knew that I had to gain some control over the situation so that I could calm their fears. I pulled myself up into a kneeling position and said, it's all right, guys. I'm okay. I'm just really, really tired and I can't stand up right now. Everything will be fine. It's just because my blood count is low, but I'm going to get that fixed tomorrow and then my body will feel better. I can't remember which one of us suggested that we say a prayer, but that's exactly what we did. I felt an immediate wave of peace touch my heart. The kids were calm as well, and it was a wonderful experience for all of us. Everyone sprang into action. There was no more arguing, no more stalling, just hugs and kisses and I love yous. I literally crawled to my bedroom, and Josh helped me get into my bed. He gave me a hug and kiss, made sure that I didn't need anything else, and then headed down to his own room. I lay there in my bed and just looking up at the ceiling and thought, how did I get here? I can't do this anymore. I can't even stand up. How am I ever going to make it through this? The tears started flowing again. It was most definitely a low moment for me. Quote from my journal. I am just tired of it all. Tired of having my kids have to make sacrifices and miss out on fun things. Tired of trying to force myself to eat when I can't taste anything and I feel full after 2 bites. I'm tired of going in for chemo. I really want to call and say, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But I am going to continue to fight even though I feel like there's not much fight left in me. I am battered and bruised, but keep stumbling to my feet. I will beat this cancer. I will be here to raise my kids for years to come. I will be here to help others through their battles and trials. My Savior will help me do this. I can't do it without him. He carries me through the rough patches and helps me struggle to my feet after each knockdown.